We're at the last minute, so it's time for the aroma hops. I'll dump those in and I'll shut off the heat at this time. What I'm going to do at this time is give the wort a good stir. What this will do is it'll form a cone of the deposits that are in this boil pot. They'll be in the middle, so when I drain it out and go through the counterflow chiller, a lot of that will be away from this outlet valve. I want to take a moment to describe how this counterflow chiller setup works. As I mentioned earlier, the hot wort travels through this inner copper tubing and out through here. At the same time, I have cold tap water running through this outer clear housing and out through the top here. As the two pass, they're going to exchange temperatures. I have set up over here my fermenter with a sanitized funnel and screen. I have my hydrometer here because I'm going to take a gravity reading. So what I'm going to do is crack open this valve on my boil pot and collect some of the crud that's going to be in this valve. That'll be just tossed out. Then I'm going to collect wort for a gravity reading. So let me open this up, collect some. There's some hot particles in there, which is normal. Okay, shut that off. Now, I'm going to take a gravity reading with my hydrometer. Now, I'm just going to open this up most of the way and let it pour into the fermenter. You could take a temperature reading directly from that stream using an instant read thermometer. Another method I found just as easy is to touch this outer copper, and it's really cold right now. Copper is an excellent conductor of heat, which is why it's used commonly in counterflow and immersion chillers. So I can tell just by touch that this is right around 68 to 70 degrees. If you saw the video I made on making the starter, this is it right here. It's ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to agitate it really well, and I'm going to dump it into this fermenter. Another thing you want to note is that fermentation occurs much more rapidly if it's been aerated. Now, I don't use an oxygen stone or anything like that, but this is a good 2-3 foot drop here. I'm going to add this yeast from up high just to get it in there. A lot of agitation. If you recall, I took a gravity reading. The whole point of taking a gravity reading is to see how much sugars you got out. So what I'm going to do here is spin the hydrometer and let it settle. It came in right around 1058, so we're very close to target. Okay, I've collected my volumes, which is about 5.5 gallons. What I'm going to do is use this sanitized stir and give it one last aggressive stir. Get everything stirred up in there, the yeast, make some foam. Okay. Now I'm going to put this sanitized lid on. And then the airlock with clean water inside. Give it one last tighten. Okay. This is going to sit in my basement for about 3 weeks. I like to go for longer fermentations. I think it does a better job than going to secondary. Just one less step you need to do. Great results as well. My basement's usually around 62, 63 degrees in the winter, which is perfect ale conditions. It's 1 week later and the beer has been fermenting right around 60 degrees. So what I'm going to do is just open this up and show you what beer looks like. Also take a gravity reading. So I'm going to unscrew the top of my fermenter, put it loosen. There it goes, it's on pretty tight. Okay. You'll notice inside there's a layer of foam or krausen. So what I'm going to do is use my sanitized trusty turkey baster here. I'm going to draw a sample and put it inside the hydrometer. And we'll see how it looks like. If you recall, the original gravity was 1058, so we're going to see where we are right now. One important tip, when you take a gravity reading, don't put the beer back in the fermenter, because you might contaminate what's in there right now. Okay, I'm going to swirl like we did before and see where the gravity is. Okay, 1 week later, It's right around 10:14, 10:15. Still has a little time to go. What I normally do for primary fermentations is let it go for a full 4 weeks. Some people do 1 week or so of primary, then put it into a secondary fermenter for a few weeks. I like the single primary fermentation better. You reduce the risk of contamination by transferring to secondary, and I think you get beer just as good, if not better. So I'm going to put this all back together and let it sit for another 3 weeks. Hi, it's been 4 weeks now since brew day, and this beer is ready to be kegged. The way that I know that it's done is I took 2 gravity readings a couple days ago and also today, and they both came in at the same value, right around 1013, 1014. I'll be kegging in one of these, which is a Pinlock Cornelius keg. To prepare, I soaked the inside of the keg in PBW and water, rinsed it out really well, and then sanitized it with my spray bottle. For kegging, there's a couple important concepts you need to know. The first important thing to know is that anything that's going to touch the beer needs to be thoroughly sanitized. This includes the racking cane, the keg, and all the keg components. Second, you have to avoid exposing the beer to oxygen. I'll show you a quick and easy way to do that. A simple way to purge the oxygen out of a keg is to use carbon dioxide. What I have here is my carbon dioxide tank from my kegerator. I've hooked it up to my keg. Simply open this valve, let the carbon dioxide flow for a little while. Since it's heavier than air, it'll form a layer starting at the bottom and push all the air and oxygen out the top. Let this run for about 30 seconds or so, then I'll begin siphoning. To move the beer from the fermenter into the keg, I use this racking cane that's been filled with water. I just open up the end of the racking cane and put it all the way at the bottom of the keg to avoid any kind of splashing. This will take about 10 minutes to move into the keg. The transfer is complete, and really that's all there is to kegging. This bale gets installed. Then I'll put this keg in the fridge at 12 psi for about 2 weeks. It'll be perfectly carbonated by then. After the beer has been transferred from the fermenter into the keg, there still remains a pretty good layer of yeast at the bottom of the fermenter. If you have a beer that's ready to go, you can transfer the wort directly into this fermenter as is, and it'll start fermenting very quickly. Another option is to use a sanitized turkey baster. Pull the yeast out from the bottom, put them into sanitized mason jars, and then put it in the fridge up to 2 months. You can then make a starter from this for your next batch of beer. It's been 6 weeks since brew day. Here's the final product. As you can see, it looks great and tastes great too. So you can see for yourself, all grain brewing really isn't all that difficult. If you have any comments or feedback, please feel free to leave it. Cheers.